My name is Fabiana Udenio, and I am an actress. I've been an actress since I was 11, 12 years old. And I'm now living, I was born in Argentina, grew up in Italy, and I've been in in the United States for a few decades now.
Wow. Well, and the first question I always have to ask, because it's always interesting, when did your passion or your interest in the entertainment industry, occur? When did that happen for you?
Interesting. Very early on, I have my sister telling me that even at 6 or 7, I was imitating commercials, and I really, and craving that kind of attention from characters, mostly imitating what I was seeing on TV. It was commercials mostly that she tells me. And then pretty much 10 or 11, I started liking theater, and I did a little play in a local theater when I was 11, 11 and a half. And then, so I really had a desire of doing it very early on. And then I just so happened to enter a beauty pageant, teenager, and I won Miss Teenager of Italy, and mostly to start to get a foot in the entertainment industry. And I was very fortunate that right after that, winning that pageant, I was picked by a very prestigious theater director and theater company in Italy, Piccolo Teatro di Milano. His name was Giorgio Strehler. He passed away, and he chose me to play Miranda in The Tempest. Um, and so I got a really good, solid theater background, and I was so young that the the theater company sort of groomed me with the voice and the presence and everything under the direction of Giorgio Strehler to be ready for this big debut on The Tempest in a really famous cast. So that gave me sort of a you know a calling card. How do you say sort of a 360 from being a Miss Teenager to doing this big. So it gave me a range and introduced me as a respectable actor at such a young age. And for a while, that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to do theater. I wanted to be Juliet. I wanted to be Juliet directed by Strehler. And he never did that. He never did Romeo and Juliet. So I never got to do that. And after a few years, I started doing musical theater. And then I fell in love with cinema and American actors and method acting and actor studio, and I started exploring, film and all of that.
Wow, that's such a journey. I wish we could unpack as much as we could. But I do want to talk about your shift into cinema, film, and television. What about it, especially like the American actors part of it? What about that stood out to you? What was driving you to that?
Uh, well, probably the Stanislavski method and exploring those feelings within you uh, might have, and also just the movies that I was seeing at such a young age. Like I remember Kramer versus Kramer, The Deer Hunter, Robert De Niro, Meryl Streep. These amazing actors, and I remember going to the only cinema in Italy that would show these movies with the original language. I wanted to hear them, and so my English was pretty good already. So there were a couple of cinemas that would show them with the original voices. Otherwise, if you went to a regular theater, it would be dubbed from very good Italian actors. But I wanted to really go see the original. So I fell in love with these actors and those movies. Um, yes, uh, and the passion for a different sort of expression than in theater, like this, the small screen and method acting and Stanislavski and all of that. Yeah.
That's okay. And was there any obvious personal shift when you went from theater to being on camera as far as, bringing the performance down, maybe adjusting your voice? Did you find any struggle with that, or was it pretty easy to just go from one to the other?
Um, well, because the history, I was so young, so I didn't have decades of history on the stage. So it was not too hard. And it's always easier to bring something down, to know how to make it bigger, and then say, okay, shake it all off and make it small and bring it down. To me, I think, in my opinion, than to just not be able to make it, to go to make more of it. It's to me. So it took a little bit of, and it always helps if you have a good director, or to guide you into the different medium. Um, and let's see. Quickly after that, I was 20 years old when I was cast in a soap opera. So I went to New York to do one, and they cast me over in Italy. I went to New York to play a regular character on One Life to Live.
Wow.
So doing that gave me a pretty good course in the language, because you gotta learn it fast, and they shoot one episode per day. So, and also in how my performance was on camera, because I could see it, and classes that I took in New York when I was living there. I was studying with Warren Robertson, and so I was seeing all these amazingly talented actors. Some of them couldn't even find a job, but they were. So I was very grateful to have a job in a soap opera. I felt really sort of intimidated by these amazing students that were studying in New York, and so it was a challenge to do good work, not just the work that you're given. Just explore other characters and explore other uh, forms of expression.
Yeah. I do want to touch on obviously that shift when you're in the soap opera, then you started appearing in more films and television. I do want to ask you about your mindset during that period, because you were very much a staple of my upbringing, whether it's Mortal Kombat, Conquest, or In the Army Now, or Austin Powers, obviously. But you were popping up in everything that I saw as I was growing up, essentially. And I just want to see, especially for that time, what was going through your head as you were. I'm sure at the time it didn't seem like you were appearing in these really just fantastic and like long driven projects that would carry on for decades after. But what was happening to you internally as you were booking all these jobs and you were going into the lineup? Did you feel uh, like you needed to find a place of solace at the end of each day, or did you feel really comfortable in that spotlight? What was that like for you?
I was very focused on being an act. That's what I was in a stable relationship. I was already married really young, so my social life was very calm. So we were like, he was an actor as well, so we were just living and breathing and acting. So it didn't seem like I wish I wanted to be working more. It did at the time. It's funny you mentioned that, because at the time it seemed like, why aren't I doing more? But one of the things I am proud of is that I always gave it my best, and uh, there was diversity in what I did, and I was flexible, and I knew I wanted work, and I knew I was a foreign actor in the United States, when at a time where perhaps it wasn't as open to different accents or different looks. It was, so I knew I needed to be adaptable and versatile. And so I was lucky to be able to do comedy, and which is maybe rare for a lady that's attracted to kind of like be able to do comedy, and that gave me a niche. I loved sitcoms, and again, a situation comedy is a combination with theater and film. I love those. I wish I could have had one of my own. That's what I wanted for a while. I wanted to do one of these greatly written sitcoms for a while, because it's a great, you get to act in front of a live audience, but you're also filmed. So it's a combination of a very interesting that I liked. And so what was going through my mind, I've always though felt very fortunate to be an actor for the longest time without needing to do anything else, because you meet a lot of people that have to have another job.
Mm.
that they can't. They get one job once in a while, so you can't make a living just solely by being an actor. And I was always very grateful that, and also a little scary because there's nothing else I could do in my life. I've been an actor since I was 11. What else am I going to do? So hopefully this will stick. So,
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's talk about, the elephant in the room, the pillow in the room behind you. Let's talk about FUBAR. What was it like? Did you have to audition for that project? Was it, let's talk about the process of getting involved in it and what you brought out of it, because it just seems like a really fantastic project. I've watched the first few episodes and absolutely loved it. But I figure, I'll talk to you and then I'll watch the rest of it with a whole new appreciation for it. So what was that experience like for you?
oh, great, because my character grows a lot episode 5 on. So you'll get to see a lot more of this spunky woman that Tally is. Um, Audition, yes, of course I had to audition. And initially the project was called UTAP, Untitled Arnold Schwarzenegger Project. And immediately you go, okay, this has got to be good. Arnold Schwarzenegger's first venture into television. And then I read, at the time, I only read, it was Top Secret Project. So they explained the project, and they just gave me 2 quite long audition scenes, and that's what I had. I knew about the project and the overall storyline, and then my character and these 2 scenes, and of course there were one scene with Arnold and Luke, and another scene it was just me and Emma, played by Monica Barbaro. So a very in-depth scene that explored the relationship between mother and daughter, and the scenes were exquisitely written. I mean, I have to do this. There was the romantic side, there was a little bit of the comedy, the story of this woman that focused was the rock of the family for a long time, and now she's thinking about herself with the encouragement of her daughter, thinking about herself and her happiness. And she has a new boyfriend, and with this ex-husband still pining for her. So all of this, I could relate a lot to the character and bring things from my personal life. I thought that I had a lot in common with Tally. And so I really wanted to give it my best. And luckily, they gave us some time to prepare. Sometimes you get an audition and you have to go and get it, on a self tape, and you have 1 day or 2 days. This one, they said, okay, 4 or 5 days, great. It's like, what a luxury. And so I kind of lived with the character for a while, and I just said, I gotta give my best shot. And you put yourself on tape. It's a self tape, and you submit the self tape, and Nick Santora cast me pretty quickly. That's all it took. No callbacks. No. They have these weird things now. They have these Zoom chemistry reads, which you have to test the chemistry with an other actor on Zoom, which is surreal. Sort of so I didn't have to do those. Nick Santora said, okay, and then I got it. And then I had a Zoom with him, but I already knew that I was going to be it unless I totally blew it, okay. Um, and he told me, look, I have to tell you, I watched, of course, your whole audition, but I knew after maybe 20 seconds that you were it. And I called my wife and I said, hey, look at this. I got my Tally. And I was cast quickly. Soon so they had Monica and they have Arnold, and then they had me, and then they had to go. So I had to keep the secret for a long time because it was top secret. You couldn't tell anybody. They didn't want to post anything. They didn't want to say it. So I had probably 2 people in my life that knew about it, and that's it. Because it's so big that if you say it, the word's going to spread. So I had this surreal period of my life when I knew I was going to be part of something very, very important, but I couldn't tell anybody. So that was a kick, a different feeling.
I can't wait to finish it. And you really did hit the nail on the head with Zoom chemistry read callbacks. I've had a few of those the last couple of years, and they're very
You're
fun. Why wouldn't you do it? Oh my god, yeah, it's a little crazy, but I do want to see, on that note, as we're wrapping up here, if you have any advice you've personally held on to, over the course of your career that you could pass on to maybe somebody who's acting right now and is trying to stick with it, or somebody who's maybe getting out of school and they want to give it a shot. Do you have anything you could pass on to them?
Well, first and foremost, I would say it is a tough life or career because nothing is guaranteed. So I would say that if you want to do it for the right reasons because it has to bring you joy. You have to have a passion for it. Don't get into it because you want to be a celebrity or you want to be famous or you want to be senior, you want to have more followers. That might hurt you. You're always going to be comparing yourself to someone else. There's always going to be somebody better, somebody that gets a job from you. But if you do it for the right reasons, you will be able to enjoy smaller parts. You will be able to enjoy the process, studying, even maybe auditioning. You can enjoy auditioning if you are able to um, enjoy the process of creating a character, of doing it. So do it for, make sure it is your passion. Make sure you enjoy the studying, the researching of the character, and don't get too distracted by parties or followers or social media. And also maybe try to not neglect your personal life too much. It can be very, very self consuming. You can be very self-obsessed with it. You can be, becomes very, so try to not to neglect other aspects of your personal life and stay grounded. This city can eat you up. The ups and downs can, be dangerous for a young person, whether you never get the success or you get it and you lose it. So just stay grounded. Try to surround yourself with people that you trust. And that's about it. Maybe that's it. And that's all.
No, both are absolutely fantastic, and I think they're paramount for anybody who's in this crazy industry. As we are coming to a close, I want to say first and foremost, thank you for being a part of the show. It was a dream come true. Sorry, can't even talk. A dream come true to chat with you and hear more about your story. Can't wait to check out FUBAR, and I have one more thing to do before we end the recording, and that's what I like to call an awkward goodbye.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Wayne's World, but Dana Carvey's kind of left to his own devices when Mike Myers walks off set and he's kind of mumbling, he's freaking out because he's on the show by himself. That was the moment of inception for this part of the podcast. So what I'll do is I'll just give a silent 3, 2, 1, and when I point to you, give us your best verbal awkward goodbye, as awkward as possible. Does that sound fun?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a challenge. It's
It is a
fun.
challenge.
Okay.
I'm putting you on the
So,
spot.
so it's going to be my most awkward, best goodbye that I can think of.
Oh, yeah, 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 think
Okay.
of, like, just however awkward it can possibly be, just go with it, just go with it.
Okay.
Alright, Fabiana, thank you again so much, this was such a joy, and here we go in
Signori, signori, arrivederci. Grazie. Señoras y señores, hasta luego. Y bueno, au revoir. Hasta la vista, baby.